Welcome, everyone, to the This Week I'm Into podcast. I'm your co-host, Pete Tyler. Later on in the episode, we'll have a mutual friend, Hannah Clark, here to talk about The Bachelor. But right now, I'm with my friend and co-host, Paul Imbrugulio. Paul, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, Hans. I'm just waiting for my rose.
Hey, I love it. That actually 10 out of 10 start.
Was that on your bucket list for my quotes today?
I'll be honest, I wasn't sure where you're going to go with it at all. So I was just kind of hoping you'd do something clever, and you did. So
Partially right.
That's right. Paul, before we begin, I think you're just here for the zip line.
No. What do you mean?
That's called a 1%er, that kind of joke, because most people won't get that, but the 1% of people who do will be like, yes, that's great.
Shout out, I think you should leave.
Yeah, if you don't know what I'm talking about, look up I Think You Should Leave dating show sketch on YouTube, and
yeah. If you're ever looking to understand Hans better as a person, understanding that humor is step one.
I appreciate that, Paul. But Paul, your comment on Waiting for a Rose, that's the perfect segue into the scene I wanted to set for you. Are you ready? All right. So here's the scene, Paul. You're on The Bachelorette. All right, you know The Bachelorette, right? Bachelor, but roles are reversed. Okay.
The Bachelor, but a woman?
Yep, the Bachelorette is the one, and then there's 20 guys or something waiting for their rose. So you're on The Bachelorette. It's day one. You're looking around. There's a lot of competition. There's some big muscles, some smart looking guys. You gotta stand out, Paul. You gotta do something to stand out. So, Paul, day one of The Bachelorette, what do you do to stand out? How do you become the peacock that catches the interest of the girl? How do you do it and get that rose?
Here's what I do. I sow deceit amongst the group that one of them isn't here for the right reasons. Then I play up my Asian heritage, and I don't expect to win, but I do expect to get top 4.
Okay. That's actually okay. I love that answer. I wasn't expecting you to get all
metagaming.
Metagaming, yeah, sowing discord amongst the competition.
Here's the thing: I'm incapable in talking in group environments, so I think the key is just to get everybody in one-on-one and break them down.
Paul, I love that answer. Honestly, what I kind of expected would be I would wear a goofy hat or something. That's how I would stand out.
Well, that would work. You would stand out, but you would also be getting back on that limo.
That's true. Yeah. I like your strategic thinking there. It goes way beyond goofy hat. Paul, but just so everyone's on the same page, do you want to explain kind of what The Bachelor is?
Gosh, Hans, finally one that I actually know. Okay.
You got this.
So we'll explain The Bachelor, but The Bachelorette is basically the exact same, but it's a woman lead, and the males are trying to get the woman. But for The Bachelor, you have, and it kind of depends, but you have one guy and a bunch of women. And every week they go on a series of dates, either a one-on-one date with the guy or a group date. So one guy and maybe 8 women. It's a reality show, right? So they have a lot of challenges and drama, but essentially every week that man hands out a bunch of roses. And if you get a rose, you get to move on to the next week. And if you don't, you go home. And it kind of culminates with the intent being that you propose, or the man proposes to one of the women at the end of the show. So they're, no longer a bachelor. It doesn't really work out that way very recently, but that's the premise of the show.
Beautifully put. Yep. It's a dating competition, right? So you need that rose. Finding love. Yes. You need to get to the next round, and then at the end culminates in marriage. But like you said, not always.
Actually, very rarely, I think.
Yeah. Funny enough. Okay. I'm diving into my fun facts early here, but I do have the percentage of couples that are still together after The Bachelor ends. Do you want to give a guess to what percentage that is?
I'll go with 5%.
Okay. It's a little higher, actually. So, surprisingly, 18.5% of The Bachelor couples are still together.
Wow.
and
That's shocking.
20% of Bachelorette couples. So for whatever reason, Bachelorette marginally more successful. Yeah, but I mean, fair. Like, but that's like, you know, I don't know how many seasons the Bachelors are, but for every 10 seasons, there's 2 that are still together. So I don't think, when you put it in that perspective, it's still not like incredibly successful at actually matching people.
Yeah, I guess not. I maybe have watched, I don't know, 10 seasons in my life,
Okay.
and I can't think of any that are still together other than like maybe the most recent ones.
Okay.
But, in due time, we'll see.
Yeah. And as always, take my facts with a grain of salt, because that was coming from like, I think like BuzzFeed facts or something like that. So
Yeah, from how long ago?
probably from like 2021. So like, I don't know, just like maybe some of those couples broke up and now it's 15% and not 18.5%. So anyway, Paul, I'm glad you brought up, you've seen 10 seasons of The Bachelor. I was kind of curious, what is your experience with like The Bachelor? And we can expand it into like other, I don't know, dating reality TV too.
Yeah, so The Bachelor specifically, yeah, let's just like ballpark it at about 10 seasons. I probably saw my first season in, I don't know, circa 2015.
Mm-hmm.
I remember who it was. It was a Bachelorette season. Yeah. The first season I ever watched was JoJo, and she was in, oh man, now I want to know the year. Well, her season, I guess, was 2016.
Okay.
Man, and after looking her up, she might still be married to that guy. So that's
Oh my
part of your
gosh.
20%.
Paul, you started on a good one then.
Yeah, so I guess in 2016, I saw my first episode. And I don't watch every season,
Mm-hmm.
but I probably catch like one a year or maybe like 2 in a year, and I skip one. I think it really is a good group activity, right? So like a bunch of people in college would like get together on whatever night it releases, and we would like watch the episode, debrief. It's a lot of like, it's basically just like TV drama gossip, right? So it's really fun to like be live with it and chat with your buddies about the episodes. Honestly, like I don't know if
Of
you were involved with
course.
this, Hans, but we definitely used to watch it in our first year dorm with Hannah occasionally. I did, at least. And then when we moved to North Carolina, like we had a different group that we watched it with. So it's a fun group activity.
I'll say, Paul, there's some kind of people out there who are like, oh, like reality TV dating shows like The Bachelor, like that's so trashy, and like they like look down upon people who watch reality TV. I'll say that was probably me at one point, but I'll say I'm speaking to myself in retrospect. Why don't you get off your high horse, come down from your ivory tower, and freaking join the common man? Because I was the problem, all right? Like, reality TV is enjoyable to watch, okay? I'll freaking say it.
Damn, we just hit Hans with a therapy session.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, but I mean, I forgot where I was at, but basically like it's just a great group activity. I would never really watch
Yeah.
it on my own. Like
Yeah.
I don't find it particularly entertaining in like content. But I do find the social aspect of it very fun.
I'm with you. I think watching on my own, I don't do so much, but within a group, like it's legitimately fun to watch in a group. So that's my plug.
It's like how people get together for sports or Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
But other than The Bachelor, Hans, what else have you watched?
So I have an experience like kind of like you were saying, where kind of the first original time I got into like any kind of reality dating show was like it was in a group setting, and that was with you and some other people that we lived with. You know what I'm talking about? Love Island.
Yeah, Love Island. God, now that is a good show.
I feel like we got in, I don't know, like season 2, maybe season 3. Like
I think we saw season 4 with
season 4,
Molly
okay.
May and Tommy.
It was it was established, Love Island, but I would say it's not as wildly popular as it was now. So when was this? This was what, 2020?
2019.
2019. Oh yeah, wait, my years
Or
are so
2018.
off.
I think
Yeah,
it was
I think it was
2018.
2018. I think you're right. Sorry, my years are way off. I think 2018. And I remember like we just put on an episode like kind of for giggles, like, you know, like, oh, like this is so funny. And then we got like really into it.
Yeah, because we had 60 hours of content to watch.
Yeah, because Love Island's insane, and they like release like an episode for every day that happens in real time. So like, yeah, those poor editors of Love Island. But we loved Love Island. Concept of Love Island is like almost like every other dating show where it's like, you know, 5 hot guys and 5 hot girls go join a villa somewhere warm and off the coast of Spain, and they just like live there and don't really do anything in particular besides like every once in a while there's like a challenge that's not really a challenge, but like just something fun. And then they just lounge all day and just talk to each other and like you know, ask what their intentions are, see if they fall in love. So
Yeah, wait for that fit bird to come in.
Exactly.
Or the bombshell into the villa. Well, actually, I'm
Yeah.
assuming that Love Island came first, but I'm not sure. It's basically the same premise as Bachelor in Paradise, if anybody watches that and hasn't heard of Love Island.
Mm-hmm. Which is funny concept for a reality TV show. It's just kind of like they're just hanging out.
So I like it, and I think that there's some benefits of those kind of shows where you have like multiple men and multiple women instead of like the single lead, because it just causes more drama, right? Like more people can be intertwined in your love triangle than on like The Bachelor, Bachelorette. So it definitely creates different dynamics at the very least.
That's fair.
Pretty fun.
That's a great point, Paul, because it does introduce drama. And like the core concept of Love Island and Bachelor in Paradise is like you start out with like 5 girls and 5 guys, but like they introduce an asymmetry. So like on week 2 they'll bring in 2 more girls, so there's 7 girls and 5 guys. And then the guys have to like match with a girl, and then the 2 that aren't picked get sent home. And then the next week, they introduce 2 more guys, and so there's 7 guys and 5 girls, and this time the girls get a pick, and the guys that don't get matched with get sent home. So there's always this like asymmetry, so it creates a lot of love triangles and a lot of drama. So I don't know, Love Island's a funny one, and I was really into it. So
No, I've watched a lot of seasons since then. I don't watch it much anymore, but that's just because it's, like you were saying, like it's literally an hour every day all summer.
Oh yeah, yep. There is a lot of content. Maybe even too much content. But
I know. But you can watch it after the fact on Hulu, and it's not, you can watch it at your own pace.
Yeah. Other reality TV shows I'll say that I have thoroughly enjoyed. Love Island, of course, but then Below Deck, if you're familiar with that one. I also binged a couple seasons of that. Actually really enjoyable. It just follows like a yacht crew. So every week, like some like millionaires pay for this yacht crew to take them out for like 3 days, and there's like a private chef, and they get waited on hand and foot. But then the yacht crew has like drama between each other, and I don't know, it's just kind of silly. I don't know how they made a TV show out of it, but it's pretty dang popular. So Below Deck is a funny one.
I always wonder about the people who are like paying for that yacht. I bet they're getting mad discounts.
I bet so. Show. Yeah, for the TV show, they might even get their thing comped, free, to be honestly. Yeah, I don't know. That's just I have an inkling, but yeah. Well, I'm not sure, but I think that if I was getting filmed 24/7 to be on a yacht cruise, then like I might expect it to be free. So. So that's a good one. I don't know. I also grew up watching like Survivor and Amazing Race.
I've never seen Survivor.
Really, Paul? You would love Survivor. Dude, I'm telling you, you would love Survivor. There's like you talked about sowing discord at the very beginning of this episode.
Yeah,
that is the complete game of Survivor, is sowing discord amongst the tribe.
It's just an interesting concept. I love that people are so into it. Like I watch people like online like play their own Survivor games at home. Yeah, I don't know why I've never seen it. I did get a lot of updates about this recent season though, just through like YouTube and stuff. I know, maybe I should watch it.
I think
maybe this is my moment.
I think you should. And then also Amazing Race. Like I love to travel. It's kind of like, I don't know, cool. Maybe that originally got me into really loving travel. So, but just they go around the world and do tasks, and every leg around the world, one team gets eliminated. So that's a fun one. And also Paul, I wanted to mention I was a good little podcast host, and I went over to a friend's house yesterday and watched 2 episodes of Temptation Island. Purely so I could prepare for the podcast.
Sure you did. I think we watched those in college too. Is that the one where you like lose money for doing inappropriate things?
That's so funny. No, that's Too Hot to Handle that you're talking about.
There's too many.
That's a funny one. Too Hot to Handle's premise is wild. There's just like kind of like a bunch of hot like sex addicts who go onto an island and you're like, oh, like you can't kiss each other, you can't even touch each other, and like if you do, you lose the money for everyone. So that's like, I don't know if I really buy into that one as much, but
I love it. It's just it's so crazy to me that they still like throw all the money away.
yeah. Temptation Island's premise is also hilarious. It's like four couples go onto an island and they're already in a usually very shaky relationship. And then they get split up into the girls go to their own villa and the guys go to their own villa. And then they bring in like 20 singles on each side. So the girls have 20 guys and the guys have 20 girls. And the idea is like, don't give in to temptation. Like these singles are going to try to tempt you to leave your relationship, but don't do it. And then almost inevitably there's like the couples like break up and like they're so shaky to begin with that they just needed this show, I guess, as an excuse to actually break up. So
there's also one that's kind of similar to that called The Ultimatum.
oh, I don't know that one.
It's almost exactly the same premise, but imagine it's like you and your like couple, right? So let's say like me and my girlfriend, one of us is like, oh, we either need to like, I don't know if it has to be get married, but like basically like we either have to get married or we're breaking up. Oh, you can go on the ultimatum. It's the final test. If you survive it, then you get married. But it's like I have to test the relationship to make sure that it's strong enough that I can withstand the similar like the temptation of other people.
It's so goofy. I feel like if you willingly go onto those shows, like it's just you're not gonna make it. I feel, but I don't know.
Well, and I just think it's crazy that like some of them go in and I'm sure this is all for the show, but they're like, oh yeah, like we're so strong, blah, blah, blah. And they can't be there more than like a week, right? And they just like find somebody else within the week. I'm like, there's just no way.
I know, it's just an excuse. It's an excuse, man. Anyway, Paul, I do have some fun facts for you. You want to hear them?
I do want to hear Hans's fun facts. Hans's fun facts. Fun facts with Hans.
Thank you very much, Paul. Fun facts for you. I have some statistics about what dating shows are the most successful of people actually getting married. Are you interested to hear that?
Yeah, go shoot me.
Do you have a guess of what might be on top? And I don't know your library of dating shows, so I don't even know if you know the show, but
gosh, is it one we've said before?
We have not mentioned it on the podcast yet.
God, what haven't we talked about? What if we go with Love is Blind?
Ooh, Paul, that is a fantastic guess, and I'll tell you, according to these facts, Love is Blind is tied for the 4th most successful dating show.
Damn, 4th most? I don't think that was that good a guess then.
Yeah,
I've never seen Love is Blind, but I just
okay. Like well, I'll tell you.
Okay, what about 90 Day Fiancé?
Could have done a lot worse. How did you know that? Yeah, 90 Day Fiancé is number 1.
Well, I feel like the whole premise is you're trying to get a green card or something on that show, right? They probably
definitely
have to get married.
It definitely is. Wait, that's hilarious. Okay, you swear to me you did not just look that up?
No, I didn't.
Okay, that was a fantastic
You can normally
guess.
hear the little clickety clackety of my keyboard if I look it up.
That's so funny. Okay, yeah, you're completely right. So 90 Day Fiancé, and I'll say take this description with a grain of salt, but this is the way I understand 90 Day Fiancé. There is some people desperate for love, usually in the United States, and they bring a foreigner date into the United States who is more or less like just actively seeking a green card, right? So you can stay in the US for 90 days, right, on a travel visa before you have to leave. But if you get married, then you get a green card and you can stay in the US. So the idea of 90 Day Fiancé is like these people in the US who are desperate for love, they bring a foreigner in, they have 90 days to date, and then decide if they get married. And if they get married, then I guess the foreigner gets the green card and gets to stay in the United States. So that's kind of the idea behind it. And from what this is telling me is that 90 Day Fiancé has successfully created 46 couples, and 54%, over half, are still together. And of those 54% that are still together, all of them are married.
Wow.
Pretty impressive.
That is really impressive.
You gotta wonder motives, right?
Well, that, and I mean, I don't know immigration law or anything, but from watching that movie with Ryan Reynolds and Sandra Bullock, which I couldn't think of the name of, you have to like, don't you have to like prove to an immigration officer that like you're not just doing this for the green card? And I feel like the fact that you're on 90 Day Fiance is like kind of a red flag. So I'm not sure how they're getting around all these rules, but it is a crazy concept for a TV show.
Paul, I think you're absolutely correct. I don't know 90 Day Fiance well enough to speak to how they get around that rules. I think the green card part is something that is not ever explicitly stated on the show. Maybe. This is all conjecture from me. But I think maybe it's never explicitly stated, but it's definitely implied. I think that's what's in my mind. So that's kind of a way to skirt around 90 Day Fiance.
Like, so sketchy.
I don't know, Paul. I don't know. Yeah, I'm the messenger. Don't shoot the messenger.
He's just a stats guy.
Okay, Paul. One of the least successful dating shows. Want to give a guess?
Have we said this one?
It has been mentioned.
God. Temptation Island.
That's a good guess, Paul, but I'll let you know it's Too Hot to Handle.
God, damn. Is that even a dating show?
Yeah, I hear you. Like, does that even count? But here's a little statistics for you. Too Hot to Handle, there's been 14 couples created. Out of that 14 couples, apparently 14% are still together.
14%?
There's been 0 marriages out of Too Hot to Handle. So, there you go.
It's because it's too new.
Yeah, give it some time. But I don't have a lot of hopes for that one. Okay, Paul, got some more fun facts for you. For The Bachelor specifically, it's important to never discount second place. There are, allegedly at the time that this fact list came out, there's 3 married Bachelor couples, and 2 of them married their second place person, and not the first place person they matched with at the end of the show, right? So their names,
that's good in the odds.
I mean, like, I don't know if this would mean anything to you, but Ari Luyendik.
Yeah.
Okay, and then Jason Mesnick. I don't know those people, but both of them ended up marrying second place. So talk about buyer's remorse. Like, they chose, contestant number 1, and then they're like, wait a second, like, should I actually go with contestant number 2? So
what do you got you got a last fun fact, Hans?
Okay, I got some random ones for you. We can rattle through these. All right. As of 2018, there's been 77 restaurants on Kitchen Nightmares, right? Where Gordon Ramsay goes into a failing kitchen, failing restaurant, and he spruces it up and he fixes everything, and they do a grand reopening and he saves the restaurant. In Kitchen Nightmares, out of the 77 restaurants, and this is coming from 2018, 15 of the restaurants were still open. So that is
so Gordon
not
Ramsay
a good success
not doing
rate.
a good job.
Yeah.
I don't want to put all the blame on him, but dude, the thing is though, if you saw a restaurant on Kitchen Nightmares, is that really the one you want to go to? I'd rather go to one that's on like diners, drive-ins, and dives.
Yeah, like an already successful restaurant. Yeah, Kitchen Nightmares, like that'll stick with you. It's pretty nasty most of the time. So
yeah, I mean, I've seen a couple of the turnarounds. Like, they look fine. Yeah, but you don't really have a lot of faith in that. One rat, it's all it takes.
All right, Paul. In the reality show Top Chef, it's a reality cooking show, right? Aiming to be the best chef in the universe. There is 4 judges on Top Chef, which you may be thinking, like, 4 judges, like, how, that's not an odd number. Like, how do they decide who wins? Well, great question, Paul. There's an unofficial 5th judge. If there's ever a split between the judges and they truly can't decide, it's 2 versus 2, then the 5th judge is a camera operator known as T-Bone. T-Bone shoots the dishes and then he eats them afterwards. So if there's ever a tie, T-Bone is the deciding vote.
Wow. Has he ever decided anything?
I don't know for sure, but I love the backstory that, like, yeah, we have a camera operator who just loves food, and like he gets to be the 5th choice if needed. So
I have a little bit of a rant here. I don't know if it was Top Chef or like Iron Chef or what. It was one of those cooking shows. But, one year as a kid, I was just watching whatever the show was. Definitely like watching it a little after it had completed on like DVR or whatever. And so this whole season I'm watching it, and the winner of the season gets their own TV show, right? Like some cooking show.
Yeah.
So that's what they're playing for. So I get through the whole season, I'm on the final episode, like halfway through the final episode, there's a commercial break. In the commercial break was the advertisement for the winner of the show
Oh,
that was
no
not yet
way.
like revealed. It was so awful. I've
Wait,
never
how did they mess that up? That's like
I don't
so
know,
clearly a
dude, it doesn't
no-no.
make any sense. It was so bad.
Wow. Wow, wow. Okay.
I don't remember what show it was, but I vowed to never watch it again. I was like, it was just so disappointing.
Rightfully so. I would be extremely mad because of that. Wow, okay. Major spoilers. You didn't even know during the commercial break they were going to ruin it for you.
I know, and that's why I'm anti-commercial.
Good for you. Paul, do you want to hit us with any reality TV resources?
Dude, here's actually an interesting one.
Yeah.
I don't know where you can watch it. Currently, Wikipedia is saying it's on Tubi, but it was a Hulu original for a little while. So maybe it's on Hulu. Anyways, the show is called Unreal. And the premise of the show is it's like a drama, but the premise of the show is the main characters are the producers on essentially The Bachelor, right? Like it's clearly the same thing. It's not called The Bachelor. And so it's like, you know, a drama about the producers like rigging the game, having their own like infighting. I really liked it. I thought it was kind of like a fun look, like behind the scenes, but obviously like not real, but like maybe it's real. I'm not really sure. It's a pretty interesting. If you can find it, I apologize. I don't know if it's still on Hulu, but it is a pretty cool show.
Wait, that actually sounds very interesting. Okay. Because the producers, like, you know, all these shows are so rigged, and like the producers are setting up these, you know, drama filled situations that are completely fabricated. So I would love to hear the behind the scenes there, but I'm sure that one is also a little fabricated. So how deep?
Yeah, I mean, there's like way more crazy crap that goes on in that kind of show. Like, like somebody dies at one point, and it's just like complete chaos, which is like not what happens on the normal show. Yeah, but it's pretty. I really like it.
Okay, Paul. I would say watch Love Island, watch Temptation Island, watch Below Deck. A lot of island shows, huh?
It's how they keep them away from the rest of the world.
Yeah, yeah, good point. That's all I have. So I think that's as good as time as any. Let's bring on Hannah after the break. Welcome back, everyone. Join us now. We have Hannah Clark here to talk about The Bachelor. Hannah, thank you so much for coming on the pod.
Thank you for having me.
So exciting. Hannah, would you mind just giving yourself a little introduction and how you got into The Bachelor?
Yes. So I know Hans and Paul from UVA, and I am now in DC doing sales engineering for Carrier. And I got into The Bachelor back in 2016, so a long time ago, because my friend Hannah Cornell, shout out, was really into it, and she had a bunch of friends who watched, and she invited me to one night to go watch with them. And I was like, this is so stupid, and I don't really like reality TV. I'd never really seen anything. And then they all stopped watching, and I continued every single year. I've missed one season, and that's actually 2 seasons now, since 2016, so.
Do you include Bachelor and Bachelorette in that?
Yes, and Paradise.
And Bachelor in Paradise?
And Golden Bachelor and Golden Bachelorette, if you count them, yeah.
So anything in the Bachelor franchise you've seen?
Except for 2 seasons.
Was there a reason you missed those 2 seasons in particular?
No. Partly that, so I often host Bachelor nights at my house, and I think that I, like, tired people out, because with the introduction of Golden Bachelor, they started to do seasons back to back to back, and it was just, like, I could feel the fatigue in the friend group, and I was like, I can't subject them to this anymore. So we took a season off, and then starting again next week.
Can you explain to me what the Golden Bachelor is?
Yes. Okay, I have, like, some, like, lore on this, actually. So, okay. The Bachelor franchise is aired on ABC. Initially, they were, like, their target audience was watching, like, live at, like, 8 o'clock on Mondays. Then they realized that their target audience is, like, becoming more older people, and they always have young contestants. So for seasons, they've been advertising, like, Golden Bachelor, Golden Bachelorette, submit your grandparents to, like, or your parents, depending on your age, to be on this. And they advertised it for, like, probably like 2 or 3 years before they finally did it. And then finally, to get the ratings back up, because they've seen like a lapse in numbers as, like, you know, reality dating shows become more popular. A lot of things are on Netflix. No one's watching TV live. And so they did this to try and like raise the numbers again. And essentially it's someone who's like between the ages of, like, I think 50 and 75-ish, usually with contestants ranging around like 60 to 70.
And I will say, Hans, if you haven't seen them, they look good.
They do.
Okay. Yeah, I'm definitely curious. So what is the kind of angle there? Like, why is the Golden Bachelor so much, or I understand it's a different age group, but does it feel different than the regular Bachelor?
It does. It's a couple things. They all have like very sad stories. Like if they're back on the show, it's usually like they either never found love and like are sad about it, or more often they've like lost a partner. So it's like, and immediately like the tone of that show is like much more intense. It's not like you go into it and you're like, haha, this is so fun. It's a bunch of 20-year-olds like looking for love, but also like looking to get Instagram famous. This is like people who like, they're committed to the process. They think they're going to find someone, and they're like usually dealing with the trauma of like losing a loved one. The other thing with the Golden Bachelor is the production value of that season was like way higher than Bachelor. Like the introduction that they had to the whole season, they kind of presented it more as like a produced show with like a storyline, as opposed to like, here's another season of reality TV.
Wait, can you expand on that? How do you mean? Like
they have, they go into like the trauma of the Bachelor, like right up front. Like Gary was the first Golden Bachelor, and they had like, they launched into his story, and they told us about like what had happened. They have it like very produced with like, instead of just having him talking and then like maybe like a view of the mansion, they have like views of the ocean, views of his house. Like they put a lot more effort into making it look like a finished product. Whereas I feel like in like past Bachelor seasons, they've kind of like, I don't want to say half-assed it, but like it doesn't look as nice as Golden Bachelor. Like they clearly, like this is like, they want this show to do well.
I see. Do you know if there is a difference in ratings or as far as viewership goes for those different kinds of bachelors?
I believe that Golden Bachelor did a lot better. Like there was a huge pull back into the franchise. A lot of people over the past few years have been like leaving watching, even like past contestants, and tons of people went back for Golden Bachelor. Like it was a huge success for them. So they did Golden Bachelorette, which I actually did not watch. So that's a little embarrassing for me, but I've heard it was good.
I was one of those people that went back and started watching again,
really?
Even the whole franchise, just because of the Golden Bachelor. Yeah, because you're so curious.
Yeah.
Like why, people that my grandparents' age are getting jiggy with it, and you just want to see what's going on. But I think it was one of their best seasons.
It definitely was. It was very good. I would say the other thing is like, there's such a an oversaturated market right now for reality dating shows, and they don't have a lot in that age range. So like Bachelor was like rushing to be one of the first to do it, because like people haven't seen that, and it brings back like the novelty of like, this is like the OG reality dating show, and they're like, what are we gonna do first?
I thought that they were gonna go same sex way before they went old, but it would have to be more of like a Bachelor in Paradise setup than like a Bachelor Bachelorette setup.
They've had one same sex couple in Paradise.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Demi, right?
Good memory.
Thank you. For some reason, I have a very like niche memory of like 2016 to like 2018. Yeah, and so those are the only people I know. And now every time I watch Bachelor in Paradise, I'm like, who are all these new young kids?
I know. It's sad when you don't know them. It makes it much harder to watch.
Yeah, definitely the Bachelor in Paradise is like, you have to kind of keep up with the franchise to make that more fun. So one of the things that you were mentioning, right, with especially with the Golden Bachelor, is how invested a lot of those people were. I want you to touch on that a little bit, but also like in the regular Bachelor, like what are your thoughts on if, like, I kind of see the Bachelor as more of like a Survivor like show sometimes than an actual dating show, because you were talking about like Instagram followers, like ulterior motives.
There's always the like, I don't know if he's here for the right intentions kind of thing. Yeah.
Yes, here for the right reasons. I have a lot to say on this because I think it's super interesting. So I guess starting with like whether it's a reality dating show or if it's like a game show, I think that there's people who come on for both. Like some people are there like to find love. They don't have an Instagram following. They don't want an Instagram following. And then there's people who come on like for the intention of, winning and gaining followers and then making a life off of Instagram, because that is like a career path that some people are able to achieve. I guess like a couple things on that. First one, the number of Instagram followers that like Bachelor people are getting over the like most recent years has been like wildly declining. Like the top contestants used to be like over 1 million. Even like the Bachelor Bachelorette would always get over 1 million followers before their show. Now it's like you rarely see that number. Like even Joey, who was the Bachelor last time they had like a normal or a non-Golden Bachelor season, he is like wildly popular and only has like 950,000.
Damn,
so
even after Dancing with the Stars?
Yes, even after Dancing with the Stars. I know.
That's tough. Is that enough to make a living with? I have no idea how many followers you need to have on Instagram to be like famous enough to not work.
So from what I understand, yes, but it's can be tough. I think like you have to get, I want to say it's over like 500,000 to like make a sustained living, because people kind of like lose interest in people with like lower amounts of followers. I'm sure people can do it with like less, but I think it's much harder.
So it's not a sealed deal if you're the Bachelor anymore. Okay.
Yeah. But that kind of brings me to like the way that like the game, if you consider the Bachelor a game, there's 3 ways to win. You can win one by getting the ring. That's like the obvious way, the like for the right reasons way. Second way is becoming the Bachelor. That's like, or Bachelorette. That's like the most assured way to get tons of screen time, like marketing deals and like sponsorships. And then that also just sort of, it builds your following probably the best of like the ways you can win. The third way is like going on Paradise, which again gets you screen time. And if you like have a villain arc, that's one way to kind of booster your following.
Do you think that the show is changing then? If people are less likely to get a substantial following for just being on the show, that it's like kind of like a, I don't know what the right word is, but like a cycle where like less people want to be on the show because they're not likely to be famous after the fact, which makes the show less interesting.
Yes, like so true, like 100%. I think that a lot of the sort of like best reality stars are going to Netflix and like Love is Blind as an example, or Love Island UK or USA, because those people are getting like upwards of like 1-2 million right off the show. So people who are looking for like fame, those shows are like far more desirable.
And I've heard that they even recruit people now. It's not even
they do.
Like you're looking to be on it. Like people will come on. And I remember seeing interviews of people after the fact being like, oh yeah, like Netflix like I tried to recruit me hard to be on this. Even for other shows like Love Island and Love is Blind.
Yeah, they go after those Instagram models, I feel like mostly. They're like, ooh, this person looks good on camera. They seem kind of spunky.
Yeah, it's almost the other way around, right?
Yeah,
like they're pitching you that you're going to become famous. Like you are famous and you'll become more famous on the show.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I guess does that kind of like what percentage of people do you think are there just for the fame? And is it like even a dating show at some point?
I think that in a sense, everyone who goes on has to be there for the fame to some degree. Like, you know, it's going to be aired. You know, people are going to like judge it. You know that there's all these opportunities that present themselves. Even if like your intention is to find love, I feel like a lot of times like there is that secondary, oh, well, if you don't find love, I could make money for this, or like I can have
at least
fame.
I'm famous.
Yeah, literally. I get to be a B-list now. But what's interesting about like Bachelor Nation, it's like the fan base, they love to crucify people who are there for the wrong reasons. So like anyone who's recruited through Instagram that has a following, I feel like they're oftentimes targets where people are like, oh, well, she's not here for the right reason. She already has an Instagram following.
That's tough.
I know.
It's such a line. I feel like I hear that every single season. I was like, are they here for the right reasons? Like,
it's a staple.
Okay. Yeah, now it's become more and more evident that like a lot of people are here to be famous. That's their strategy to get there. So I'm wondering, Hannah, do you know of any instance where someone has got like launched a career or a product or service or something because of The Bachelor?
There's a ton of examples. Like there's one girl, this is a random example, Madison Pruitt, who is now married to a billionaire he's from Texas. And there's they have like released books. I think that they're trying, or there's a rumor that they may start their own like mega church with like his money and her, like, because she does a lot of like presentations on like faith, and that was a big plot line for her that season about like, you know, the fantasy suites and faith and all of that. So yeah, people also like sell products, like they have their own line sometimes.
Wait, was she the one who's the daughter of the basketball player or something?
She played basketball. Yeah, I don't know if her dad was famous or not, but you're definitely right.
She's not the one whose like dad was like a coach of like the Clemson basketball team or something?
It's so possible. I don't remember, but that sounds right. On the most recent season, there's a girl named Daisy who's like very popular, and she got sponsored by Daisy Cottage Cheese. So now she's like got a commercial for it. Yeah. So yeah, they definitely have it.
That works out well. That reminds me of the total tangent. Michael Cera with the CeraVe lotion. The Michael CeraVe lotion. Anyway.
Oh, that one's good. Dude, it's like Michael Bublé water.
Neither here nor there, but...
That's what they're striving for.
Hannah, I'm wondering, what are the aspects of The Bachelor you find most interesting? Like, why do you keep going back every season?
I think a couple reasons. One, I think the primary thing that I personally go for is because the week can get monotonous, like my daily life. And I feel like a lot of activities that people do as they grow up, you have to pay for, like if you're doing a sport or if you're doing a club or if you're doing a class or whatever. I feel like Bachelor airing on Monday is like a really nice thing to look forward to beginning of the week. It's consistent. You invite people over and depending on who you are, half my friends watch The Bachelor and they just sit in the room and talk to us. So it's a nice way to get people together socially. So I think that's why I do it over and over again, because it's sort of mindless and you can watch it while not watching it. But also it's just addicting. You see the drama and you see the love triangles and you want to know what happens to this person. So it's fun in that way, I guess, for the more casual viewer. I also find it personally exciting because I like the first night making a list of who I think is going to win. And I write down my first impressions of everyone and maybe a one word comment. I'm crazy, so this is why I do this. And then I rank them and I try to get the list correct. And it's fun to see we all make snap judgments every day. So it's cool to see when I make a snap judgment, how right am I? What am I wrong about? What trauma does someone in your daily life have that you would never know about? But you can I know this is
dumps.
Yeah, this is I'd get roasted for this by my parents, but yeah, it can be interesting, social deduction wise, to see what's actually going on that makes this person who they are.
I thought you were gonna say everyone who goes on one of those shows has to have a pre-set up trauma dump, right? Something that they're oh, my life is so hard, blah blah blah. All right, some people have them, but some of them you can tell are reaching. And I thought you were gonna say if you were on it, your parents would be that's BS.
Yeah.
You treated her so well. She has no trauma.
Wait, I have a question for you guys. If you were on The Bachelor and you had to come up with the trauma card you'd play, not to obviously tokenize anyone's actual trauma, but what would your plot line be?
Oh, wow, that's tough.
So funny because I feel they're not looking for regular or just people with typical experiences where it's just yeah, I'm pretty mentally stable and I'm pretty happy right now. Uh-huh. All right, no, sorry, you're not on this season. But I'm trying to think what kind of card could you play?
Hans asked me what my Bachelor strategy was if I was on it.
Good question.
And my strategy, and this could kind of lead into my trauma dump, was well, first of all, I'm sowing deceit, right? I'm definitely subversive. I'm not trying to win. But the reason why is I'm gonna play my Asian card and I'm just gonna go full cultural extra, which is an awful thing to say, but it's totally accurate to when you're someone who's ethnic on a white person season. No offense, but it just doesn't work out.
That's
and I would say I would struggle with how I was different than all the other kids in school, something like that.
Paul, there is a huge movement in Bachelor Nation to finally have an Asian bachelor, bachelorette, because they've never had one ever.
I know, it's tough.
It's insane.
Well, wait, was that what was that girl? Was she not Asian?
I don't think so.
What was her name? It was the most recent one, wasn't it?
The most recent girl?
Yeah. Oh, is that the one that you didn't watch?
I didn't watch the Golden
She was
Bachelor.
the med student or something.
Oh, Jen, you're right. Yeah, Jen, you're right. So it's just Bachelor then that they haven't had it yet. You're right.
Yeah, so I could be the first Asian Bachelor, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's the card I would play.
I like it.
My mind is racing and I don't think I have any in at all.
He can't. His parents listen to this, Hannah,
I'd come onto the show and I would be yeah, you should listen to the This Week I'm Into podcast. And everyone would ask
that's the promotion.
He's not here for the right reasons.
That's true. You guys would get roasted.
Hans said that, how you get out of the limo and you're supposed to do some funny gimmick. Hans's thing was he was gonna wear a funny hat.
You gotta stand out somehow.
Ooh, that's kind of fun. I don't think I've seen that.
Yeah, because
I'm thinking I walk out with a big 10-gallon hat and they'll I'll see the Bachelorette she'll be like, "Oh, like, are you from Texas?" And I'll be like, "No."
She'd be like, guy doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I don't think I'm lasting past one episode here, but at least I can get my plug in for the podcast in one episode. So.
There's probably people who don't even get airtime. Like they truly like don't even get introduced.
That's true.
True.
Big sad.
That's a fun question, Hannah. So can I reflect it back to you?
Yes.
Yeah.
What my trauma would be?
Yes.
Or your Bachelor strategy.
Okay, well, I have a funny story for you guys. So my birthday party this year, that was like a couple weeks ago, I themed it The Bachelor, and I had everyone come up with their limo entrance. I bought a red carpet, and then I made everyone present to someone in the room. We just had like a random order, so I was not the Bachelorette. But it was really funny to see people like come up with their limo entrance.
That's hilarious. Okay. What were the best ones then?
We had a guy dressed as a baby. He ended up winning. We gave out a first impression rose, and he got the first impression rose.
Nice.
We had a couple come together as like one being. They were like in the same trench coat together, like pretending to be one.
That's really funny.
2 kids in a trench coat.
Yeah, there are some good ones. Oh, we had one girl who like break danced. She said like, "Let me tap that," and then she did tap dancing.
Oh my!
It was wild. It was actually wild.
That's lovely.
Yeah, but my strategy, Paul, that's tough. I think that I would only get on if I had like a gimmick the first like night, kind of like Yuhan's. And I think I would have to come as like a horror related thing because my brother is into horror movies and like obviously wants to do directing in that. So I think I would like get edited as like that like weird girls like popping up behind bushes. Like I think I'd be covered in blood, like something like that.
What the hell?
They haven't really they haven't really done something like that. But that's how I see the producers editing it. Like every time I'm interrupting a one-on-one, but it's like a jump scare, you know? They could do a lot with that.
Have you guys ever seen the show Wipeout?
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
And you know how like everybody has like a stupid gimmick? Like that's what they should make The Bachelor into.
They have some of that.
Hannah, you should dress up as like the ghost girl, like from The Ring, and then crawl out of the limo backwards.
Oh my god. In my dress too.
That
would be crazy.
You know, it's a strong first impression.
I would be sent home immediately. But... like he would never be able to unsee that.
The Bachelor's like looking at the camera, like look at the producers. What the fuck? Like...
Oh, that's good.
Hannah, admittedly, I've seen a couple episodes of The Bachelor, but I'm not super informed. So if you were to pitch as in like, what are the storylines I need to follow? Like if I were to go into one season in particular with one good character, like where do you think I should start? Great
question. I think my personal favorite season of all time is Nick Viall's for a lot of reasons. He was on 2 seasons of The Bachelorette. So he's kind of like a GOAT because he was like a runner-up both times. And then he became...
make you the GOAT?
Like the greatest of all time.
No, I know. Oh. Does not getting the pick?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
The second of all time.
The SOT. But he, like, the fact that he got that much airtime, like, he's been able to, like, launch, like, a full podcast now and, like, is super successful because of it. So in that way, he's the GOAT. But he went on Paradise as well and then had his own season. And for his season, they had, like, the perfect combination of a bachelor who, like, was serious but also allowed for fun. And also having contestants that were kind of, like, huge characters. There's specifically a girl named Corinne who had, like, a nanny, technically an au pair, who was, like, a drama queen, but also, like, a princess. And the whole season, like, there was good love in it, and there was amazing drama. Like, she did things that, like, you didn't think you could do on The Bachelor. Like, she napped through a rose ceremony once. Like, she was doing some high-level gameplay. But, yeah, that's probably my favorite season.
They kept her around, I bet.
They kept her around till, like, top 4.
Wow.
Yeah.
So she got a rose even though she didn't show up.
Yes. She had a rose already, I think, and she was like, I'm going to bed. Catch me later.
I mean, I hear the rose ceremonies are super long to record.
Yes.
So props to her for being like, all right, I got mine. Like, see y'all.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think the best seasons generally are like a lead that allows for like the right amount of like chaos, but also pursuit of love. And also the right contestants. And I feel like typically for me, I think the Bachelor seasons are more interesting than the Bachelorette. The girl contestants are more fun.
Okay.
I feel like there's more drama in them.
Yeah.
I feel like the men just get mad and then they like kind of like bump chests a little bit, but it's not like lasting drama.
Bro, you're not here for the right reasons, dude. I don't know. I think that could be really entertaining too, now that I think about it.
I think it is, but it's like, I think it seems like the women are like more polished. Like they have like, they're more like the social media stars that like know what they're getting into, know how to play it, and like do well, as opposed to a lot more of the men are like kind of like bumbling around, like, oh, we can't do this. Oh, wait, what's a date? You know, not literally.
It just emulates real life.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, all right, fair enough. Okay, so I think the characters are really interesting, but how do you kind of parcel out, or even do you even attempt, where it's like a genuine character moment or like a producer kind of manufacturing something? Like, how do you get into that?
I feel like it's pretty transparent or like apparent. I feel like when someone's being genuine, you can often tell. Like, they're not paid actors typically. I mean, sometimes Bachelor Nation will jump on someone and be like, you're acting. But I feel like for the most part, like, the way that the environment is set up, it's designed to make you have these intense feelings. Like, the people on there are going crazy because they're like sleep deprived and they're like put through these emotional situations and they're kind of like manipulated by producers. Like, it's not that they're intentionally acting dramatic. I feel like if you remove all my sleep and you put me with people who are constantly like trying to get me to say bad things, like the odds of me eventually in like a 10-hour interview saying something bad is so high, you know? Like, I feel like a lot of it it's manufactured in the environment, but not in like the actual emotions. That's sort of how I view The Bachelor.
Okay, yeah.
How much of it do you think is like not scripted but like forced, right? So you're talking about how that girl made it to the top 4 and she was like just doing insane stuff. Like, do you think that there's a little bit of like, hey, whoever the Bachelor was, like, you gotta keep her around?
Yes, definitely. It depends on the season. For that season, like, I think Nick's come out and even said like he knew she was good TV, so he kind of kept her around. Like, there's bachelors and bachelorettes who know like what makes a good show, because like ultimately you are trying to find love, but you're also making a TV show. So the best seasons have a combination and leads who like understand that and will like work with production to make that happen. But it's interesting, like, as someone who's like deep dived into like the podcasts and all the behind the scenes stuff, knowing what producer manipulation tactics like are used. Like, as an example, anyone who interrupts anyone on a one-on-one or like a one-on-one conversation has to be approved by production. So like there's that's what I heard from contestants who've come off and like talked about it. So like it is like in a way manufactured, but I think the emotions people elicit are like very real typically.
So what are some of the behind the scenes things, like kind of like you can't just always interrupt? Because I was always surprised that people aren't just like constantly interrupting.
Yeah. Well, you'd hate for like a boring person to like constant interrupting, and the audience is like, oh my god, Betty's back. The biggest like producer manipulation tactic that I guess like manufactures drama is frankenbidding. Do you guys know what that is? It's when they'd have a video of me and then they cut away and show the scene that's happening and they'd make it sound like I said something that I never said by like splicing words together. It's a pretty common tactic used on like reality dating shows in general. But it's like, yeah.
So like not even like full sentences, like
yes.
Truly taken out of context.
Yes. Like literal words put together. Like, they might have me start a sentence by saying like, you know that girl Betty again. And then they would cut away from me. And then they'd have me say like, I hate her. But it's like things I didn't say I hate her. I may have said like, I hate lemons. But they've cut the two together to make it seem like I said this. So a lot of like if you don't see them say it, they very likely might not have said it. Like, if they don't see their mouth move.
As the editor of this podcast, I will say that is such a good tactic. But in terms of reality TV, I have noticed that they have all these scenes set up so you can't distinguish like time of day, like when within the night they were saying things. So they have all these like opaque, is that the right word? Like non-see-through glasses. They don't have like food around or anything that like would diminish over time. Oh
yeah, the bachelors also aren't allowed to eat on camera. Like, when they go to those dates and they have those elaborate dinners, they just sit there and don't eat, because I think one season it was like disgusting watching them. They're like, enough's enough. We gotta stop this.
That's bad.
Yeah.
Do you think so they eat off camera?
Yeah, they eat off camera and then they go on the date and they just like sit at the dinner table together.
Do you know how much time they get like off camera? Is there any, like, do they get any time to like chat? Because the thing that I think is so weird about The Bachelor is the amount of time that these people spend together. Even like you're like, okay, maybe it's over like 6 weeks or whatever, but they do not seem like they spend more than like an hour together over those 6 weeks, right?
It's like shockingly small, yeah. I don't think there's a lot of off-camera time because it would make for so much drama, but kind of going back to your comment about like the timing, the first rose ceremony of the whole thing, like the opening day, the limo started arriving the night before, like, I don't know, say 7 or 8. And if you watch when people are leaving the house the next morning, it's like 10 a.m. Like you can see the sun is fully risen, like it is the next day. And as people have been up all night with nothing to do but talk to each other about like how insane everything is and get like heated about stuff. Like you have like 12 hours of sitting there being like, I paid so much money and I can't talk to this human. Like that would put anyone into like a spiraling situation.
When you say paid money, what do you mean? Like they paid money to be there?
So all of the outfits that they bring with them, they have to pay for that themselves. Any hair, makeup, anything. So people spend like tens of thousands of dollars on outfits. And then you get sent home the first night and you're like, oh, this is embarrassing. I quit my job. I paid all this money for dresses. Like it's a lot to go on. Like if you're like fully committing to it and you want to like go far, that's kind of like the expectation at this point.
Oh, I didn't know that. I assumed that they had like budgets or like wardrobes that they could pick from.
Only the Bachelor, Bachelorette lead.
That's crazy. So if you run out and you're just like at the final date, they're just like, sorry, man, you gotta have to rewear something from episode 1.
A lot of the males will like switch out suits. Like you can see like there was one season where there was like a sisterhood of a traveling suit where like everyone was wearing the same suit. You're like, oh, there's the salmon suit again. Oh, there it is. Because they were all exchanging it because no one had enough clothes. Or I guess maybe they're bored.
That's a good idea.
I know I would do that. I'd be like, that dress is awesome. Can I borrow it?
Yeah, but I feel like suits are so easy to blend in that you couldn't tell if it was like the same suit as the other guy or the week before. But dresses, because they're always like different colors, different patterns, cuts or whatever,
it would be really
easier
obvious
to tell.
Yeah, that's so true.
Hannah, do you have any like distinct memories from watching The Bachelor? Like moments where you're like, oh my gosh, or your watch group went crazy? I just want to hear like what sticks out the most when you think about The Bachelor.
That is such a good question. I think my favorite, actually, I amend my earlier statement. Another season you should watch is Hannah Brown's season. She's like my favorite of all time bachelorettes. One of my favorite moments in the history of the game, if you will, is there was this guy that she had eliminated who like had been a pain in the butt for like so long. Like he made it to top 4 and he was like telling her that if she like had sex with anyone in those fantasy suites, like God wouldn't love her and like all this stuff. Like he was very religiously coding and like shaming her, and she kicked him off. And then he showed up at the next rose ceremony and like all the boys that season had hated him from like day 1. And she like is trying to get him to leave when she sees him come. She's like, I already kicked you off. Why are you here? And he wouldn't leave. And she's like, fine. And she picks up the podium with the rose and she moved it away from him in front of like all the boys that were like left. It was savage. Major you had to be there moment, but it was legendary.
That was a really good season. And that guy sucked.
Oh yeah. Paul, what was your what would you say yours is? Top moment?
Oh, that was a good one. I'm trying to think of some scenes that stick out. A lot of the scenes that I like are when they like, I'm not going to say humiliate, but when they like put the people under just like absurd challenges. And to be honest, they mostly do this with the men. I feel like they don't really like make the women dress up in like skimpy outfits anymore. So I remember one time they put all the men in Speedos or something and they did like a talent show. And these guys are just like not good at whatever they're doing. Or maybe it was like lap dances. And it's just so funny watching these guys who like clearly have never done this before just like fumble around. Those are like my favorite. I like the challenge parts of it. Yeah,
no, that is fun. The podcast I listen to primarily on The Bachelor, it's called Game of Roses. It talks about The Bachelor show as like a game show. They call that a forced nudity play. Like, another forced nudity play tonight.
They do. They always have at least one. Yeah, those are good.
Those are good.
The other things that I just think are hilarious are when I feel like people just start fighting over like literally nothing. And it almost reminds me of like middle school drama. And I think like this is basically the whole show. But I one of the last seasons I watched, I feel like there was this one scene where it was like this one girl was like, oh, this other girl like should be more confident or something like that. Like she's very pretty. I think it was something about her age, right? Yeah, she's like, oh, like she really shouldn't be ashamed about her age. Like she's not that old. Like she looks great. I mean, I might be like gassing her up more than this other girl did. But then a different girl who was unrelated got mad that this other girl was like saying that this girl shouldn't be ashamed of herself or something like that. And that was the drama. Like,
yes, that was crazy. That was Joey's season. From the fall.
It's just like trying to understand the mindset that some of these people are in. And like, first of all, like, one, is this like all an act, right? Like, are you actually mad? But then you look at these people and they just seem so genuinely upset about the situation that they're in, that you just think like either they're actually crazy or they're like, or something is amiss, because I can't like fathom the mindset that some of these people are in. But that's why it's so entertaining. Like, I feel like it's just like a look into, like, it's almost like a psychological experiment on these people.
It totally is. This is so random, but that you reminded me with the nudity talk. There's a guy, like maybe the worst villain I've ever seen. First season I ever watched, JoJo Fletcher's season. They had this guy named Chad who was like complete jerk, like just unfriendly, tried to fight people, like was just not a good person. He has since started an OnlyFans account where he like, you know, does whatever he does. And he has posted videos of himself in a van, like doing nefarious things outside JoJo Fletcher's house. Like he found her house at some point and like recorded him doing some sex stuff. Yeah.
That feels very
in the van outside her house. Oh yeah.
That's so crazy.
Like some of them are crazy. Like actually like they're crazy. Confirmed.
Well, even the guy that you were talking about that like got kicked off, like came back, was doing all like that religious stuff. Like I thought he was like genuinely like crazy and like was gonna hurt somebody. He was like a big dude, like a football player kind of guy.
He actually was short.
Yeah.
Not that that's big, but short. Yeah.
Yeah, but like big, like super strong. Yeah, I'm always like worried that they're gonna like break out in violence.
Mm-hmm.
So Hannah, a little earlier, me and Paul were talking about a couple different dating reality shows. And I'm kind of wondering, like, have you dabbled in, like, I don't know, Love Island or Love is Blind, that kind of thing?
Oh, yeah.
Do any of them compare to The Bachelor in your mind? Or is The Bachelor the go-to? Like, I'm kind of wondering, like, what's your favorites? And if you always like The Bachelor, like, why is that the go-to?
Okay, this is a crazy take. I don't feel like The Bachelor is the best, like, reality dating show at all.
Here we go.
I really don't. But it's the original. It's like the thing that started it all. It's been around for like I don't even know how long. My parents used to watch it back in the day. But I think when they were like courting. I've seen Love is Blind. I don't like Love is Blind. I know people love it. I just can't get into it. I think that Love Island is the best reality dating show, hands down. I think you get more time with the people. I think it's like the format is more organic, I feel like. You get to know the contestants way better. I just think it's like better drama, more interesting. Yeah.
I do think it's like a better version of Bachelor in Paradise as well.
Yes.
Because Bachelor in Paradise is once a week, maybe twice a week.
Twice a week, I think, usually.
Yeah, but like to your point, right? You really just like learn everything about these people. I mean, obviously most of their conversations are just like, so what are we doing here? But sometimes they'll just show you the like bits where they're just sitting around and they like are talking about mundane things. And it's just entertaining, like a look into their life.
I completely agree. I think Bachelor edits out too much of like what makes people human.
Yeah, I agree. I think that is some of the funniest part. Well, also not Love's Fine. I think that Love Island is funny just because they're British, right? I only watch the UK version. The one thing though I do like about Love is Blind, and honestly it's probably the same for Love Island because most of like the UK is not that big, is that it's proximity based, right? I think that something that disillusions me from The Bachelorette or The Bachelor is that some of these people live so far apart.
That's
it's
so
like
true.
I just don't see how you living in Florida and her living in Alaska is going to work out. But for Love is Blind, I think they're all in the same city. Like that's the point. So it's like feasible that, you know, you don't have to like uproot your entire life, assuming that you want to stay with whatever person you're with.
That's a good point, Paul.
I agree. The last season of Love is Blind was filmed in DC. There was like so many people who were like had connections to someone who knew that person. It was crazy, the lore here. Be like, oh my God, that guy's a jerk. That guy's my landlord.
I don't know exactly who the guy was, but actually it just reminded me that Sarah and I watched The Bachelorette one season, and we were told that one of the guys, so this was a Bachelorette, one of the guys who I think ended up making top 4 was someone who worked with her mom.
Whoa.
Like he was like in some like whatever company, financial company that he worked for. And so obviously they're done filming it by the time that it airs. So he's like in the office, and it's like, you know, this probably 20-year-old guy working with a bunch of like older women who watch the show, just absolutely
That's
like
kind of
ragging on him
awesome.
every week. But he does do really well. Apparently, like he gave off like a very like well-mannered, like good tone, which is something that you have to be worried about, right? Like if you go back into life and you're not a celebrity anymore.
Yeah, you get a bad edit.
Yeah. So it sounds like you got a good edit, but it is cool because you know people. Or this might have happened to you with Love is Blind. I don't know, but I like when they do the hometowns on The Bachelor, because I think recently there was someone who came to Seattle, or like maybe he was from Tacoma. But I thought it was funny because they just show like weird parts of Seattle, or like not in a way that I would expect someone to like come into town and like show off their like girlfriend or boyfriend.
Mm-hmm. So there's no, I don't know, like Pike Place, or
I don't know what they did.
Okay.
Yeah, it just feels weird that they're just like here,
hanging out.
And then, you know, they probably have like a private concert in like a really famous part of town, and you're just like, how are they pulling this off?
Okay.
I don't actually know like how they decide where in the city to go, but I bet you that's like all producer. Like if they came for me in
I bet
DC,
it's all ads.
Oh yeah, probably like sponsorships. That's a good point.
Yeah, right. Because they always have to have their helicopter to the boat in the ocean, or to you know, a pier somewhere, right?
Oh yeah,
it's a classic date.
That is a classic.
Wait, I just reminded myself actually as I was talking to the one-on-ones. Do you have any like favorite like one-on-one dates? Because I think that sometimes they're really extravagant, and sometimes they're like really underwhelming. And I'll just say that some of the underwhelming ones to me are like, oh, let's go ride like a dune buggy like in the desert and then like sit on a picnic. Like that's like Love Island level, like low quality date.
Wait, really? Because that sounds kind of fun to me, at least.
Comparatively to some of the other stuff they do, it's very low budge.
Oh, okay.
That's true.
Okay, I hear you. Okay. What's an example like high budge then?
They had they've done this twice now, I think, where they've sent people up in one of those planes that simulates zero gravity.
Okay, that's sick, actually. Okay.
So cool. But they sent someone up who like has a queasy stomach, and she ended up, I think, getting sick or at least feeling awful. So
dude, they do that on purpose. I'm like
probably
100%
I'm sure they do.
I swear there was this one where this girl was afraid of heights and they put her in a helicopter.
They love doing that. They're like, afraid of heights? We're gonna throw you off a bridge. Okay. Yeah, it's crazy. You reminded me, Paul, of like recording in your hometown when they are making decisions on who's gonna be the new lead, either like the Bachelor or Bachelorette of the season. They record like it's like the opening package of each player that's like in contestant. So there's usually like 2 or 3 that get recorded. So sometimes you'll see someone. Yeah, like there was one where they recorded at, I think it was at Clemson or something, where people saw like, oh my gosh, I know who the new Bachelorette is, and then they didn't give it to her, but she had filmed like her intro.
Oh, so they do a couple like just in case.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Okay.
I feel like recently it hasn't been, but they generally try to pick from a previous season to be
typically
on, like to be the next lead.
Yeah, typically.
Okay, Hannah. So obviously this podcast is about jumping into new hobby, new interest every week. So what's the elevator pitch for why should we dive into The Bachelor?
Okay. Do you love drama?
Uh-huh.
Love?
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Friendship?
Well,
sure.
Yes.
If you love all those things, or none of those things, this is the show for you. I also think
that is
very encapsulating, yeah.
Everyone. I think the big thing for me is like having a consistent like thing you can do that doesn't cost money with your friends, and it's more an excuse to get everyone together. Some seasons are really fun and you'll be really into it. Other seasons you're going to be like, this is pain, but you just talk over it. You can bring snacks. You can you can drink wine. You can make brackets. There's a lot of ways to get involved in it. I think it has something for everyone.
There are like fantasy football-esque brackets.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or what is like March Madness type brackets for this.
Mm-hmm. That gets people really involved. That's when you get like a full season of people like showing up.
Okay. That actually does sound really fun. So, Hannah, do you have any plugs, either personal pieces of media you want to give out a shout out to, podcasts, anything else about The Bachelor?
Okay. I've got a couple. First one, new season, Grant Ellis. Great guy, or so it seems. Tall, attractive, seems kind. I think it's going to be a good season. Second, Game of Roses podcast is like a great place if you're looking to like dive into like the lore behind Bachelor and like analyze how the game changes, what like the good plays are, what characters to look out for. They're a great resource for that. If you're interested in like the statistics of things, like does having like the first hometown date make a difference on your odds of winning? There's a Instagram account called Bachelor Data that has like tons of information on like the random questions you'll be thinking, like, is this important? Like, are they airing this in like real time, or do they change the order to like mess with people? They are great. They have statistics on like dresses people wear, like the most common. They pretty much have everything. They're fun. And then I bought the book of the or the podcast people that I listen to. It's not showing up, but it's called How to Win the Bachelor, and it talks about like the strategy. So if you want to go into the game, it's a good book for that. And they actually coach people into the game. Like that podcast, they like reach out to people who are potentially going in, and they've coached people who have actually been in the game with like strategy.
Ooh, okay. Mm-hmm. Okay.
It's very interesting. But those are my plugs.
That's so crazy that you can get coached into it. Mm-hmm. I feel like that's like the whole that like counters like the whole point of the show. Oh my god.
It does. It's crazy. It's like the antithesis of like what they're going for. And they kind of like that podcast is so, it's like a lot of people know what it is, and a lot of like past leads, like bachelors and bachelorettes, have come onto that podcast. So it's like kind of like involved in the game, but also sort of frowned upon because it's sort of like you're there for the wrong reasons. But like this book has been found on film sets at The Bachelor.
Required
people reading.
Read it. There's the strategy for sure. Okay. Awesome. Hannah, thank you so much for coming on the pod.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, good luck on your next bracket. I hope you squash your beef with Betty. And
you guys will have to do a bracket with me.
Yeah, that sounds like a plan. Awesome. Thanks, Hannah.
Love it. You're welcome.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the This Week I'm Into podcast, and a huge thank you to Hannah Clark for sharing her experience with The Bachelor and reality television. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions for future topics, please reach out at thisweekiminto@gmail.com and give us a follow on Instagram at thisweekiminto. Please rate us 5 stars and share this episode with a friend. We're doing our best to grow the podcast, and your help really goes a long way. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you in the next one. Boise is home. It's where I grew up, where I learned how to be a man, and where I discovered my 2 great loves, physical therapy and cookies and cream milkshakes. As a PT student, I help people get back on their feet, literally. And now, I think it's time for me to take a big step towards love. I'm 26, I'm ready, and I want someone who's adventurous, kind, and not afraid to be a gamer girl that's gonna rise and grind. Yeah, I've been in love before. High school sweetheart, and I thought she was the one. We planned our future, traveling the world, building a life together. But sometimes, life has other plans. I got an offer to study abroad, and we tried to make it work. But the distance, the time zones, it just wasn't enough. And in the end, I had to let her go. But I believe everything happens for a reason. And now, I'm here, ready to open my heart again. Will I find love, or will I just end up diagnosing myself with a broken heart? Let's find out with the first girl on her way out of the limo now.
Hey there, handsome. You must be Hans. I'm just a quirky contestant with a passion for love and unique headwear.
What an interesting and goofy hat you got there. I didn't realize keep calm and carry on, we're still making hats.
Hey, don't knock the classics. This bad boy was big in 2012.
And yet, somehow, you're still wearing it in 2025.
Timeless. Like our relationship, or at least I thought so until you started dating 30 other people.
Dude, come on.
Alright, you got me. I just wanted to see if you'd recognize me. But hey, crazy thing happens in reality TV, right?
Paul, I'm here for love. This is serious, but you will always be in my heart.